Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be starting off talking about perimeter and area. So first off, it says find the perimeter and area of the right triangle to the left. So first when we're finding the perimeter, remember the perimeter is just the distance around the outside. So in our triangle here, we have three sides. Um, so if we're finding the distance around the outside, all we have to do is add those three numbers together. So we're looking at 16 plus 16 plus 22 and 6300ths. Now remember that when we're adding 16, 16, and 22 and 6300ths, just remember that we can add on a decimal and two zeros for each of these 16s. That's going to give you your perimeter. Now, if I look at what our perimeter is measured in here, it's measured in inches. So that means that we are going to put inches when we measure our perimeter. Now, for the area, remember that we're talking about a right triangle's area. We're talking about how much space is on the inside of a two-dimensional object. If I add a second right triangle here, I have made a square. And from I can easily find the area of that square by, remember, the area is equal to the length times the width. The length times the width gives me the area. Therefore, I can find the area of the square by doing 16, which would be the length, times 16, which would be the width. So 16 times 16. But then we have to remember, because I found the area of the square, but I only want this piece of the square, which would be half of it. So I have to remember then to take whatever this answer is, and I have to remember to divide by 2, and that's going to give me the area of the right triangle. Now remember that when we're measuring area, we're going to be measuring it in square inches. Square inches is going to give me the area because we're talking about a little square that is an inch long by an inch wide. Be about like that would be a square inch. So thinking about that as you're going through, to use square inches to divide by 2. Remember, if you're finding the area of a rectangle or a square, you don't have to divide by 2 because you do need that entire area. So think about that. All right, move on to the next piece here. It says solve each problem below. So we're just looking at 2 subtraction problems. Now, this is something that we've been working on a lot, which has been regrouping. So let's see how we can make that work today. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to notice that 7/8 is definitely bigger than 1/4. So regrouping is going to be required. 7/8 is almost a whole. 1/4 is just a quarter. So I'm going to make common denominators here between 4 and 8. So 4, 8, 8. My common denominator is going to be 8. So I'm going to have 12 and 2/8 minus 7 and 7/8. Now remember, when you're subtracting away a larger fraction, we're going to have to regroup. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a whole away from my 12, which is going to give me an 11. Now, when I take that whole away, I have to add a whole back, but we're going to keep in mind that when I add it back, we're going to use this same denominator, and I know that that whole is equal to 8/8. 8/8 is the same as 1 whole. So from this point, I can just put these two pieces together. 8/8 and 2/8 make 10/8. And then from there, I can just go ahead and subtract. Now, same thing over here. Notice we have a whole number with no fraction minus a mixed number, so a whole number and a fraction. Same idea there. We can regroup. I can take 20. I can take a whole away, which gives me 19. And if I use this same denominator over here, I can say 19 and 5/5 would be my whole. And 19 and 5/5 is the same as 19 plus another whole, which is the same as 20. And from there, we can just subtract. So we've got to be really careful about this idea of regrouping and what it is exactly that we need to do. So be really careful on those 2 questions. All right, takes us to our last question today, which says, Alex is training to compete against Mr. Thompson in a hamburger eating competition. He currently has his work cut out for him. At the current time, Alex can eat 7 and 2/500 hamburgers in an hour. So Alex equals 7 and 2500 in an hour. And we're talking about hamburgers in that case. It says Mr. Thompson can eat 3.5 or 3.5, 3 5/10 times this amount in an hour. So Mr. T equals 3.5 times more. The question says, how much can they eat combined? So how much can they eat combined? Now, we know already how many Alex can eat. We know that Alex can eat 7 and 2500. In order to figure out how much they can eat combined, we need to now know how much can I eat? How much can Mr. Thompson eat? So I know that Alex can eat 7 and 2500. I can eat 3.5 times that. So we're going to have to figure out what 3.5 times that is. When we figured out what 3.5 times that is, that's going to tell us how much I can eat. We just have to add that with the amount that Alex can eat because we see this word combined, and that's going to give me the combined total. So we got to find out how much I can eat by doing 3.5 times that number, and then adding back in that number that Alex can eat, which was 7 and 2500, and that's going to give us our solution here. So awesome job. I can't wait to see you guys in class today, and bye guys. Have a great